My name's Will DeFries, and this is the Sunday Scaries podcast, your cure for the Sunday blues. Last year, right around this time, I had the absolute pleasure of discussing all things fall fashion with Club Cool's very own Barrett Dudley. After proving to be one of the most popular episodes of 2020, it was a no-brainer that I'd bring him back for more. Ladies and gentlemen, our resident fashion expert, Barrett Dudley.
Hello, how's it going? Happy to be back.
It's wonderful to have you here. You guys have been doing some good stuff on Club Cool lately.
We have been churning out episodes. I feel really good. You know, whenever we get like 3 in a row and we don't miss a week for various scheduling reasons, I just feel on top of the world. And so we've had like a run of 3 episodes, most of which have been based on some listener questions and prompts, not dissimilar to the ones that we'll tackle today. So really, I mean, like, you know, if I'm new to you and the Club Cool podcast is something you've not heard of or not checked out and you like today's episode, then our recent run of episodes should be right up your alley.
Yeah, based on the questions that we received and based on the listening that I've been doing to Club Cool recently, there's a lot of overlap, and that is a very good thing in my opinion.
Absolutely.
If there's a time to buy stock in Club Cool, I'm going to say it's right now.
I completely vouch for that. And, you know, I don't feel bad about if I kind of repeat myself or say the same things, because I just think about the Lady Gaga on the campaign tour for A Star Is Born, where she literally said word for word the exact same story over and over and over again, like 100 different times, and that worked for her. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm here to get my message out, and I'm okay with that. I made peace with that.
There could be 99 people listening to this podcast right now that hate it, but as long as we have the one that believes in it, we're fine.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, Barrett, luckily for us, it's about 90 degrees outside right now, and probably only getting hotter. And all we have to do right now is not dress in fall clothing, but just dream of it.
That's right.
Moving to Texas was something that I was excited to do because I could avoid the snow for a little bit and everything like that. And what I've realized is that just winter in Texas is just fall. It's just fall clothing the entire time.
That's correct. There's no real difference between like basically once the weather starts to turn a little bit here, which really doesn't happen until like December, essentially. I can't tell you how many 77-degree Thanksgivings I've sat through. Then that's when we really get to put on the fall stuff, and that just holds fast through the end of February, essentially, unless, of course, we get giant snowstorm blizzards that wreak havoc across the entire state.
Yes.
You know, because that can happen.
I think there is an upside to not having the frigid cold temperatures, and it's that you don't have to buy the big ticket items. You don't have to get a new, like, very expensive winter coat every year. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, and you can actually dedicate those funds towards other things that might not be those, like, giant items that cost more than anything.
Yeah.
When it comes to seasonal fashion, where does fall rank for you?
So, I mean, I'm tempted to put it first, but like we talked about, like it's first in my mind. It's first in what I like to look at and what I like to shop for, and in the lookbooks that I like to see, and you know, it's my dream first. And I guess that does make it first, but it's so, you know, we do this every year to ourselves, where September rolls around, football season kicks back off. You know, fall collections are popping up left and right at all the places that you like to shop. And it's just like, yes, fall, love this shit. And then like, 6 weeks goes by and we're in the middle of October and that we still have highs of 84.
Yes.
And it's just like, I'm in shorts and t-shirts still. So it's like, you know, it's just this kind of weird relationship that we have to have with fall clothing in Texas and in any other temperate climate where summer kind of extends. So it is my favorite, but that comes with the caveat that it's like we're kind of perpetually waiting for it to be fall. And then it's just like, and then it's here and then it's over.
Yes.
So
there's always just that one day when it's like, oh, we made it. But you know, if I buy anything fall, which I have somehow not done this year, I have not purchased anything yet, and I'm waiting. I'm gonna see the whole lay of the land. But I'm not above cranking the AC down and just wearing something around the apartment just because I need to feel good about myself.
That's, I mean, That's something that is important to remember, and it's one of my suggestions for people that do live in warm weather climates but want to push into fall, is that sometimes you just have to force it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you're here in a crew neck sweatshirt today.
Yes.
By the time we walk out of here, it'll be 91 degrees or whatever. But
correct.
When you were up this morning, it was probably 72.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a text from Sally when she went to work today, and she said it's 70 degrees outside right now. This is amazing.
You're in your car. You got the AC rolling. You're in here. We've got some AC. Like, yeah, it's funny because not only are we in a warm weather place, but we also drive everywhere here. Mm-hmm. And so, like, we're not. How often are we actually outside?
I know.
Not that often. So, like, if you want to put on that light coat or that light, throw on your denim jacket or put on your hoodie or whatever, like, you can do it.
You can get away with it.
As long as you're not going to be outside for very long when it's sweltering. Mm-hmm. Like that. So that's what I'm saying. You just kind of have to, as soon as we even start to get a break from like the really warm weather, the really hot temperatures, you just kind of have to launch yourself into it and make it work. Yeah. Justin Bieber is out in LA in the dead of summer wearing giant ass puffer coats, man. Like we can throw on a hoodie when it's still in the 70s.
Yeah, I've learned that I don't feel bad about doing that. You might get weird looks certain places, but I'm like, well, I'm in air conditioning 95% of the time during Texas summer, so it doesn't matter. So let's do a bird's eye view of just fall trends this year.
Yeah.
We all know like the general trends that pop up every single fall. Is there anything this year that has popped up that just certified wasn't there last year for us?
Yeah. So the big thing that we talked about a few weeks back on Club Cool, and if you have been following along with us for a little while, you probably know that from 2018 to 2020 we were big on what we were calling the BPC.
Yes.
The big plaid coats.
Yes.
Well, we've replaced that this fall with a new BPC, which is the big funky cardigan. So that's a PH on there to make this thing work.
I'm in.
But you can call it the BFC as well. And so that's what has seemingly, and it's not that this wasn't there before, it's that I can't stop seeing fuzzy patterned mohair giant textured cardigans,
like oversized, rolled collars. Are we doing those this season?
Not a rolled collar typically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like kind of take the cardigans that you might have had from J Crew 5 years ago, and then like beef them up, and then make the shoulders drop a little bit. And then spray some funky ass color, or some texture, or some pattern, or something on that thing.
Okay.
And like that is everywhere right now, especially like I said in mohair, to get that really fuzzy textured wool look and feel. So it looks really comfortable. It looks super cozy. It makes you kind of want it to be cold. It's the type of thing that it's the reason we love fall clothing, right? It makes you kind of want to sit around and like by the fire and like drink a hot toddy or a stout glass of red wine, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like that's what I'm seeing a ton of right now, and these things are everywhere. So that's the number one that I would say has kind of burst onto the scene this fall and is everywhere. This
pleases me a lot because I overspent on a cardigan last year. A mohair cardigan.
Yep.
I was very happy with it, and I didn't wear it as much as I wanted to. And so I've just been waiting for fall to come this year so that I can redo it and get into it. And I don't have a funky one. It's a black cardigan.
Yep.
But it's a little oversized. I definitely swim in it a little bit, but I like it that way and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, we kind of did like I gave a list of like the check boxes for something to fall into the BPC, and you can kind of rate these things, right? So you get points for the texture, you get points for the size of it, and then so there's this wide range. Like not everything is a 10 out of 10, like perfectly fitting into the trend. So that you can find where you're comfortable with on this on this kind of sliding scale. Like if you don't want something. If you want to get a lot of wears out of something, right, then you probably do want to tone down the pattern or the color or something, but you can still get the size and the texture and the fabric and the look. The positive thing about these, a lot of them anyway, is that you also see a lot of open knit, some stuff with some wider gauge yarns, which it can still be warm, but also breathe better than something like really kind of tightly wound and that blocks a lot of breeze and kind of traps warmth. So this is some of these have a more open knit, which is better for climates that are not frigid.
This is just wonderful news for me. What else do we have on the list of fall trends that we're seeing this year?
Kind of overall, the size of everything is getting bigger. So it's been really interesting to just like watch your perception change.
Yeah.
Because like there are the pairs of pants that were in my closet that at one point I bought to be slightly baggier are now like the slimmest pants that I want to put on.
It's stressing me out. Like I haven't gone. I have one pair of pants that I think like somebody would look at me and say, okay, those aren't like slim fit pants at this point.
Yeah.
And I need to buy more, but it's for me, it's been very difficult for me to put on a pair of, larger fitting pants and like a little more wider leg without thinking that I look absolutely ridiculous in it. And I will get to this later because I think we're going to spend a decent amount of time on footwear. But the thing that I'm having trouble with too is figuring out what I can actually wear with these wider legged pants because everything that I have currently doesn't really work.
Right. Right. No, that's a key piece of it, and I'll save the footwear talk to when we get to that section.
Yes, we got
but it does
so many listener questions on footwear.
The two things go hand in hand, and pants in general are just kind of like, for me right now, they're very much the starting point of an outfit because there's so much range here. We've got stuff with elastic waist, and we've got cargos, and we've got stuff with drawstrings at the bottom, and there are still pleated pants out there, and there's any number of denim, and there's just like there are so many pant options. The range of fit has never been wider to me, like because you still like slim is very much still something that is offered and that people love, and then you got brands putting out stuff that look damn near like Jinkos, right? So it's like choosing your pants is kind of it is the base of your outfit right now. It determines like kind of which kind of avenue of style you're going to walk down. Because if you do go with something wider or a little bit baggier, then you kind of need to match that up top. You're not going to go with like a very trim tailored sweater and have like blousy trousers underneath.
Yeah, right? You don't want to be bottom heavy on that. It's just weird.
Exactly. So you need like, so if you choose those baggier trousers, then you're going to want something that's a little bit more oversized or has a little bit more heft to it up top, so on and so forth. But the overall gist is that we are moving into baggier and bigger silhouettes.
Does this mean that all clothes are going to start costing more because of this, just purely based on cost of the product or of the materials that go into them?
No, clothes are going to start costing more because of a dozen other reasons.
Yes.
But that
like having to fly around the world to get them?
Yes. Some of which we outlined on Club Cool a couple weeks ago, just as far as supply chain, and I won't bore your listeners with flight routes right now or the cost of freight, but yes, you can expect clothing to get more expensive, and it'll happen rapidly because it's like most brands are not vertically integrated, right? So they're using this factory who's using this mill, and then they're using this freight forwarder, and then they're using this distribution center. And so it's like you can't really control your own costs.
Yeah.
All of that starts piling up and getting more expensive as the supply chain bogs down, and as we have this like work shortage all across the world, and as the pandemic still continues. And so it's like and then you add on like that most brands wholesale as well to like their retailers. And so it's just going to be you're going to see that inflation quickly as far as the cost of clothing.
I'm already pinching pennies.
And that's as far as I'll go on that. Let's see. The one other trend, I'll drop one on you that I have not mentioned on Club Cool yet.
Let's go.
It's something that I've been percolating on, and I'm finally here for. I generally love women's fashion when it kind of emulates menswear, and then I love when the two kind of like go back and forth, and when they kind of mirror each other a little bit, and when we kind of something will happen in menswear and that gets sucked in and becomes a women's wear trend, and vice versa. So Are you familiar? Have you heard of these two people, Hailey Bieber, Emily Ratajkowski? Do you know them?
I think I'm going through my mental Rolodex right now. Yeah, I think I know who they are.
Yeah, they make appearances on Instagram every now and then. They are both big fans of the giant blazer look.
Yes.
Which has been styled expertly on the two of them, and is now like a very popular women's trend. Women's trend overall is like this look of this kind of giant oversized blazer.
Yes,
which somehow doesn't look like they went into their husband's closet and picked out a suit coat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is something that I've mainly noticed on Hailey Bieber. She's always doing this. And I've actually posted numerous photos from the Sunday Scaries Instagram of her doing, it's not the reason I post it, but that's something that she just wears so much that if I use one of her photos, I'm like, oh, she's got a giant blazer on.
Yeah. And shouts to her stylist on Instagram. I think it's Style by Maeve or Style Me Maeve. Because she has been the stylist that is like pushing that look forward. That's
Me Maeve.
That's Hailey Bieber's stylist. And so when you see Megan Fox or Hailey Bieber or any number of other celebrities like with that look, they're probably styled by, is it Maeve Riley, I want to say?
Yes. Yep. Style Me Maeve is the name. She has quite the following herself.
Yeah.
She's doing quite well in this space.
So now we take that look, which has been very focused with women, and I'm starting to see it for men as well. And, Jerry Lorenzo at Fear of God, he put out his 7th collection not too long ago. And we started to see some of that, like very like wider blazers, bigger shoulder pads, paired with stuff like sweatpants.
Yeah.
And so we kind of pushed into that, like that same similar look that those, that Hailey and Emirata are doing, and kind of seeing a men's version. And now as more and more fall collections are coming out, the collection that I was just looking at recently was Acne Studios' new stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of these like sport coats and blazers that are tailored, but they are absolutely like, this is not your J. Crew Ludlow suit that you're wearing to the wedding and the interview.
Yeah.
It's very much like a styled piece that is designed for, like, looking fashion forward and going out for drinks and dinners. And so that's something that I absolutely have my eye on is kind of a slouchy but somehow tailored sport coat blazer.
Yeah.
That I want to wear in like a very Brunello Cucinelli way, who's kind of like the god of this American Italian, like louche but casual vibe, where it's like it is like the 90s dad jeans, but with with kind of a blazer that you feel like you can feel it just by looking at a picture
Woody
of it.
Harrelson has like, there's like photos from the 80s of Woody Harrelson doing exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what you just pronounced, because I did it once on this podcast and absolutely botched it, and I will never live it down. So like one person commented on it. They were like, you sounded mega uncomfortable saying that. And I was like, yeah, I was. It's like the word rural for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, before we get into some more questions about some of the collections that we're looking forward to, let's hear from one of this week's sponsors, a very good sponsor that's near and dear to my heart, Early Bird CBD. They're actually one of the first sponsors of this podcast. We used to record out of the studio that was put in the house where they actually founded the company. And if you're not familiar with them, you should be. Early Bird CBD gummies are a recreational hemp product that contain about 2.5 milligrams of natural THC and about 12.5 milligrams of CBD in each gummy. These are formulated for fun and to make you feel good. There are a ton of different ways to use these. You can use them to relax. Some people go out after taking one because of the naturally slightly higher THC content. And but what it comes down to is that they've formulated Early Birds with a microdose of THC to make you feel great without getting too lit. These guys are based out of Austin, like I said. They're a very Austin-centric company. I mean, like, they're keeping Austin a little weird, and I like that. Each product is a microdose, like I said. It's the good old-fashioned Delta 9 THC that you know and love, and it's naturally derived from USA-grown hemp. And the gummies contain less than 0.3% THC by dry weight, so they're legal pretty much everywhere. They come in different flavors. My favorite is the strawberry, but I do definitely like both the watermelon and lemon flavors, and they even have tinctures as well, if that's more of your speed.
I got to try these gummies. You guys have talked about them so much. I have some carded up.
They're delightful. I will say, start with one, and then if you feel like getting up into the 2 range, then you can by all means do that. If you go to earlybirdcbd.com and use code Scaries, you can get 20% off of your order. It is a one-time use code though, so load up when you go there. Send us what you're getting. I want to see it. earlybirdcbd.com, Scaries for 20% off. Barrett, what collections are you most excited for this fall?
So there are a few that I kind of always look forward to, right? I think everybody is probably familiar with, or I shouldn't say that. A lot of you, if you pay attention to the content that Will and I put out, I think you probably know that we're big fans of I'm a Leon Dore. Always an exciting collection because Teddy Santis, who's the creative director and designer over there, is just like, kind of unparalleled at styling. Mm-hmm. So when his lookbooks come out and you get to see everything together and put together in his kind of vision, it's always really, really cool. And then they do the version of it that just came out, I think earlier this week, where he like brings in friends and family and other quasi celebrities.
It's genius.
And styles the looks on them. But I actually have heard that they have the people that he brings in kind of have access to everything, and so they kind of get to pick what they want to wear.
That's like my dream. I would love to go do that. Like, it would just be so nice to go in and just see the full collection and just be able to pick and choose the stuff. Not one photo from that drop looks bad. All of them are good.
It also, that when you look through that, I think they title it "The World's Borough" is how they title that lookbook. The women just crush it. Mm-hmm. Like, and again, like my favorite versions of the styling are how the women have put it on. And that's just
I've bought things from ALD solely because I saw it on one of their female models or one of the influencers that they bring in. And I've thought to myself, that is really cool. Yep. I definitely want that now. And I'll send it to Sally and be like, you think you could pull this off? And she's like, no.
Nope.
Stop sending me this. I'm like, okay, that's probably fine.
Yeah, I will say, for the women to pull off what they do in those lookbooks, I think you need to be 5'8" at like a minimum.
Yeah, it's
really like because the clothes are designed for men. They are cut for men, and so like I have trouble wearing some of it sometimes. I'm 5'8". Like
I have to get all I've only bought I think 2 pairs of pants, and I have to get them hemmed up because like I'm almost 6 foot, but I have short legs, and so there's a lot of tailoring that has to go into it sometimes.
Yeah. So doing that menswear but on women. Absolutely difficult if you are, if you're like Laura or Sally in that 5 foot to 5'4" range. Mm-hmm. I mean, like Laura even has trouble with like the whole 100% cotton mom style straight leg denim.
Yeah.
Being, shorter. Mm-hmm. So it's that's just, it's tough out there for women to kind of, even harder for them, I think, to find stuff that fits properly and looks flattering than it is for us. So that's the ALD collection is one that I'm always excited to look at and see.
How much influence do they have over everybody at this point? I mean, they've had a very severe rise over the past couple of years. And how much do they influence other brands at this point?
So I actually think that they're probably influencing other brands more on the styling and marketing aspect of things.
As opposed to the actual clothing itself.
Yeah, and the way that they curate their store, the way that they curate the exterior of their store, and like the fact that it's become like a total hangout, like you're creating that culture and that environment. Like if people want to meet their friends in front of your store, like you've already won, right? Like regardless of if they're even familiar with the brand, like they're eventually going to go in and buy something. Like you have created the environment and the lifestyle that they like and aspire to. Your brand is synonymous with that. Like that's a recipe for success.
I literally met friend of the pod, Cat Pat, outside of that store. I was like, because I knew I wanted to go pop in and see the new store when I was in New York. And I was like, hey, do you just want to come over here and we'll just meet outside of here and go find somewhere to eat? And that's what we did. And it was like, yeah, no, I just want to go see this store and see how cool it is. I got an overpriced coffee and
there you go.
Yeah, and a black T-shirt. It was a great success.
So that's if you want to find something to critique about ALD, it is that they really don't move outside of their comfort zone as far as like what inspires them and what they kind of like base their look on, which is very much like this combination of 90s New York streetwear and 90s Polo Nautica Tommy Hilfiger Prep. So it's that, and they really like. You can go back and look at like their last 3 fall collections, and they're not that different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They even have some, I mean, I think this year they haven't released some of the stuff, but they're even bringing back some stuff that they had a couple seasons ago. And that's it's stuff that I never bought. And there's only one item that I've had my eye on, and it's kind of the nubby overshirt kind of thing.
Yep.
And that's the one thing that I want. And I was bummed that they didn't release it in their first drop, but it'll eventually happen.
Yep.
Who else we got?
For kind of like a, in between J. Crew and in between the brands that the other brands that we talk about, like IMA and whoever else, John Elliott, Noah, everything that GQ put on their list of like the best 10 American designers right now. Todd Snyder is really, really great to look at. It's a really nice framing for here's how everyday guys can look fashionable in their everyday lives instead of being quite so directional or quite so streetwear heavy or quite so like, oh, well, I'm never going to wear that oversized but somehow tailored blazer with sweatpants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's it's approachable in that way. And the price is it's definitely more expensive than J. Crew, but it's not as eye-popping as some of the other brands that I tend to mention will be. So that's always a great place to look and see kind of what they're putting out for the fall and the spring seasons. Todd Snyder is also on top of a color palette that I think is really big this year, which is this combination of like yellows and Dijons with reds and oranges.
Are we about to be in like a straight up Merlot situation? I feel like this Merlot color is popping up in random places, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, so the and it kind of goes hand to hand. Actually, I think this is always funny, like that Merlot kind of Bordeaux maroon and the burnt orange, and those type of sienna brown colors.
I think it's cool with like that yellow too that you mentioned.
And they always seem to trend at the same time, which is funny for me because it's like the Texas A&M and the Texas colors are kind of like even paired together in fashion. But yeah, those kind of earthy, warm, sunny reds, yellows, and oranges kind of together are something that I've noticed, and Todd Snyder's doing it really well. And I thought it was great to get his inspiration on Instagram, which was a Mark Rothko painting, and I'm a huge Rothko fan. So it was fun to see that that's kind of one of the places where he saw that combination, and then put it into his line.
I have a question on something that you just mentioned, and it's J. Crew.
Yeah.
What can we expect out of J. Crew these days? I haven't been shopping there hardly at all, and it's just because I've been more interested in other stuff. When I was researching for this episode, I was like, I'd be stupid not to go to J. Crew right now and see what they have. What surprised me is that they didn't have as much fall as I thought they would. What also surprised me is that I liked some of their stuff more than I was expecting to. What can we expect out of them? Are they chuggy?
Yes, definitely. But I think that I think you're just automatically chuggy if you're over 30.
Yeah,
right now,
I think it's just by default. Yeah, and that's fine. I'm fine embracing that.
Yeah. I obviously pay attention to what the Gen Z kids are doing and how they're influencing fashion. We've done some segments on how TikTok. TikTok itself, not just the generation of kids, but TikTok fashion and trends influences designers, which has been kind of fascinating to watch and see. But yeah, here's what I'll say about J. Crew. One of the questions that I get asked very often is basically like, you guys talk about some expensive brands, whether it's any of the ones that I've named today, Acne, Todd Snyder, IMA, like these are brands that cost a lot of money, right? So, if you're younger, or if you're still in college, or, if you're working your way up to that, like where are you supposed to shop and where are you supposed to kind of start? And I know I sound like a broken record on this, but my answer has not changed for like the last 5 years. It's the mall brands. It is J. Crew and Gap and Bonobos and Banana Republic and like, and dipping your toe into H&M or their kind of elevated brand COS, or, if you want a big funky cardigan, but you don't want to spend $500, like it's okay to check out what Zara has, right? If you just want to try a trend or see, what ASOS has. And I've not recommended fast fashion as much recently because the impact that it's having on the environment is like becoming increasingly more devastating, and so I feel kind of shitty.
It's not something I ever considered before. And then when we were in London, there were some stores that I was looking at that I'd never even heard of, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, those are fast fashion brands. Please just don't go there." And I was like, "Okay, I can back off a little bit."
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I also can't sit here and tell everybody to go spend $300 on a pair of jeans and $500 on a sweater, right?
Yeah.
So I understand their kind of a necessity as well in a lot of ways.
It's like when it comes to the Gap, there's actually a Gap store near where Sally used to live, and I would go get a sandwich in the little whatever it's called, little sub whatever, and I went into Gap one day and I was like, I think I might start coming here more often.
Yeah,
I have a pair of chinos that I bought from there that I still wear to this day, and this was probably 3 years ago.
And that's the trick to shopping all of those stores that I just mentioned, is like they are not good, full stop, period. Mm-hmm. You have to shop them. You have to look. You have to filter. You have to check every week, because it's like, every squirrel eventually finds a nut, right? And so like they have to kind of pander to some of what is selling well to the general population, I guess. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they want to be fashionable as well. And so, like I put Dave onto the e-waist Gap shorts, and like those are great. Yeah. Like that's a really nice 7-inch chino e-waist short that I just bought a pair for $20 during one of their sales. Like, am I going to really notice the difference between those and the $200 versions from Maime? Like, absolutely not. No. I just found a great looking, I don't know how they fit yet, but I also just found a great looking pair of double knee carpenter denim from Gap. They come in a white, they come in a palomino brown. Like you
very much noted.
You know what I mean? Like, and so do I want all of Gap stuff with like 30% stretch in it and like a tight chino? No. Mm-hmm. But am I going to drill down and find the little hidden places where they have a great looking pair of E-Way shorts and a nice pair of double knees? Absolutely. And that's the same thing that I'm going to do at Banana Republic and J. Crew. Banana Republic has a beautiful like indigo wash denim chore coat right now that looks like it could have come from Droll de Monsieur. You know what I mean? Like, they all kind of have these eureka moments where you're like, oh shit, that looks awesome. And so they might not style it the best. The entirety of their collection is not going to be as kind of inspiring and as drool worthy as the fashion brands and the higher end stuff. But you absolutely can get in there and kind of pick and choose your spots and put together stuff that like where the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. And and so it's like, get your base, get a few things that you really like from there, and then kind of maybe you have the opportunity to splurge on like your one kind of big funky cardigan that you paid a little bit of money for. Yeah. And that's kind of the best way to approach it, I think.
Okay. I like that. You just brought up something that I actually got several questions about. So I'm going to table that real quick. I'm talking about Chore Jackets and kind of those work shirts. Let's hear from another sponsor before we get into the listener questions. The dirty little not so secret about the bedding aisle is that while cotton might be the most popular fabric for sheets, duvets, and pillowcases, it's also the most damaging to our planet. Even organic cotton takes its toll, and that's why I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Ettitude. Made from naturally organic bamboo, Ettitude's sheets are made without toxic chemicals, and they use 500 times less water than cotton. Plus, they're silky soft, so they're comfortable for you and the environment. I've actually got their signature sateen sheet set, and they're so soft that we immediately put them on our bed without hesitation. And I'm a kind of a hot sleeper, unfortunately.
Same.
Not a fan of that. But the 100% bamboo sheets are so breathable and they're so smooth that I was legitimately surprised with how soft they were when they were out of the package and after even the first few washes. I think they're actually getting put on my bed today, and I am very excited about that. Unlike cotton, which consumes massive amounts of water, energy, and chemicals during production, Ettitude uses naturally organic bamboo. It's the most resource-efficient plant on the planet. Their sheets wick away moisture, and they regulate your temperature to keep you cool and comfortable throughout the night. And you can try Ettitude bedding for 30 nights, and if you're not completely satisfied, you can return it for a full refund. Right now, you can go get 20% off your order plus free shipping when you visit ettitude.com/scaries and enter promo code scaries. Remember, that's Ettitude as in eco attitude. Order today for free shipping and 20% off of your order at ettitude.com/scaries, promo code scaries. And like I do with all the ads, I put them right in the description of this episode, so go check those out. Are you ready for some listener questions?
Let's do some listener questions, man.
I gave you a list of them. I'm going to be jumping around based on things we've already talked about. The first thing I want to talk about is coats. The main questions that we got were, I guess, just, coat trends. Some of them, I'm just going to read through them and we can kind of choose where we want to go. Someone asked if we had any tips for styling a wax jacket. We had the best brand for a Camel top coat. Where are we on jackets this year? And I think in that same breath, we can kind of talk about chore jackets and work shirts. Mm-hmm. Let's start with the chore jackets and work shirts and kind of those things.
Yeah. Excuse me. That kind of world of kind of shirt jackets, things that are made from maybe a heavier shirting material that kind of work as both, or work as a mid layer, or work as something that you absolutely throw on over another shirt. Mm-hmm. Very, very big right now. All of it is good. It's all 2 thumbs up. It's something that I think kind of started a season or 2 ago, and now everybody's kind of catching on and deciding, yes, this is something that we want to do. Mm-hmm. Howler Brothers, we put out a really, really nice one that's kind of has a workwear inspiration. I actually designed the side pockets on it myself, so it was fun to have fingerprints on something like that, and then putting out something a little bit more fashion forward for our line, which is usually more kind of lifestyle and sport oriented. So they're kind of everywhere, but they look great, and I think they just fit naturally into the kind of the crossroads where everybody wants to be right now, which is casual and comfortable.
Yeah.
It's
perfect.
It's a really nice way to be cozy, be comfortable. They're loose. They're not too structured, but you still look a little bit buttoned up.
I've always had the kind of running bit that it's oatmeal. It's always oatmeal
season, sure.
And I had an oatmeal kind of overshirt that I wore a lot, and a lot of people asked me where that was from. And it's a company that I actually buy a lot from, and I bought 2. I guess you would call them chore jackets. Yep. I bought 2 last year from the same company, and it's a company called Taylor Stitch out of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And they do a really good job with that stuff. If you buy their stuff while it's being funded, you can get a pretty significant discount on it. And that's just where I've bought the stuff. I have 2 chore coats from them now. One's an indigo color, and one is a green color. And I wore the green a lot more last year, but every time I wore it, I got a lot of compliments on it. And I'm very happy that I went in on those last year, because now I have them for this year when they're a little more on trend. I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, like I mentioned already, you can definitely find some of this stuff at your kind of mall brands like Gap or Banana Republic or J. Crew. One that is kind of in that same range, but a little bit more fashion forward is Buck Mason, mm-hmm. which does some of this as well. Plus stock up on t-shirts there for a pretty decent price. So it's definitely something that you don't have to look too hard to find. The other thing about the shirt jacket or the shacket is that you're starting to see it in a lot of different fabrications. So mm-hmm. now brands are making it doing some fill inside of it. So it's like a lightweight puffer that's a shirt jacket, and there's all sorts of different stuff.
They're even doing puffer pants at this point.
Yeah, they are.
Todd Snyder had a pair, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Patagonia did a pair, something like that a long time ago, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And now that I see that people are actually wearing these things, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
When it comes to wax jackets, I got a lot of questions about that. I will say to anyone who, I think there were at least 3 people who asked about how to re-wax a wax jacket. I will be doing a whole different segment on that as someone who recently did it. There's a lot that goes into it. It went surprisingly well.
Okay.
But I will also tip my hat to my wife, Sally, who championed that entire event and pretty much took control. So do you have any tips for styling that? I've always taken the approach that I can just wear it with anything. I walked into Outdoor Voices one time wearing a pair of Outdoor Voices joggers and my jacket on top, and one of the salespeople was like, I love what you're doing with the styling here. And it was something that just made my hungover body so happy that day. Yeah. I was just like, thank you. It was a real mail-in outfit, but she enjoyed it, so it made me feel more comfortable about busting it out wherever.
Yeah. Man, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. That is a pretty versatile piece there, and I think it kind of goes with probably most of what you have in the wardrobe. Like it like, if we're talking how I want to style it to make it like the most badass possible, then I'm thinking like James Bond and Skyfall, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very much that English countryside heritage origin of the jacket itself. So, you probably do have like a chunkier Fair Isle knit underneath and, flannel lined khakis or something like that. But it's, man, I mean, it's just super workable with really anything that you want. Jeans, again, not too slim, probably something like a Levi's 501. Will look great with any number of kind of Oxford cloth button downs underneath, which is something that I think is about to make a comeback. Is the shirt for men?
Okay,
just like, when was the last time you wore like a button up?
I legitimately put one on last night because we were going to a nicer dinner. I put one on last night and I looked at myself in the mirror and all I could think was like, all right, you've fully transitioned to being a dad. and I immediately took it off because I was like, there is a place where I would wear that. But if I'm going out to a dinner with just like the crew that we were with, which is just the Wash Media guys, I was like, I'm not going to walk in looking like a dad right now. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't even totally figured this out myself. I was just like rummaging through the closet and I was like, I have not worn a button-up shirt like with long sleeve. That's not like a camp collar. That's not a short sleeve shirt. I've not thrown on like an actual button-up shirt in a long time. And I like put one on and I'm like, there's a reason this is a menswear staple. Like, you look really nice in this.
Yeah. You look like I look too nice in it.
Like frames your face so nicely. Like there's a reason that this type of shirt has been around for 1,000 years or whatever.
Yeah. I think my complaint was that I look too nice. I was like, I look too dressed up and together right now. I want to look more comfortable and more casual.
So I do think that is something to kind of look out for. And I'll throw in this caveat because it's kind of one of my fashion pet peeves. Like, I'm not talking about the Brooks Brothers button down that is 2 sizes too big and like hangs down past your ass. You know what I mean? Like, this is still something that should look nice on you, right? Not too traditional or not too fuddy-duddy or not too like you're a conservative accountant at Baker Botts or whatever. I think that's a law firm, not even an accounting firm. But you get my drift.
Someone will call you up for it.
But that is definitely somewhere, like a place that you can go with a more traditional coat is a little bit more like dressed up, kind of nice, casual area. Yeah. And I think that there are, again, I haven't totally rounded in on this, but because loafers are so back in, and because there's like so many other of these kind of American kind of heritage staples, I just think that they're being put together in a more interesting way right now, and the fit is a little bit better. But that's the point being, I think that if you've got some button-down shirts that you really like and that sit nicely around your neck and that kind of vibe with that whole look, you can definitely pull those on as well.
Okay. Just very quickly before we transition into footwear, because that is where we got the most questions. Camel top coats, are they in? I've always had a soft spot for Camel. And I've always wanted a Camel top coat but it's something that I always pictured myself wearing to church on Christmas Eve and not actually wearing out. But I do need a nice coat like that. Maybe not in Texas as much as going back to Michigan. But is that still something that like I should even have my eye on, or should I wait until that gets a little more popular?
So it's not something that I would say is trending. Most of the overcoats that I'm seeing right now are more like I'm going to make a kind of technical differentiation here, but they're more like a car coat than a top coat.
Okay.
And so a top coat like typically has like lapels essentially, and was originally designed to be worn over a suit.
Yes.
Right? So it's wider shoulders, boxier cut, because you're going to have your suit jacket on, and then you pile on this top coat.
Which is probably why I imagine myself wearing it to church on Christmas Eve.
Right. You kind of get the Peter McAllister running through the airport.
100%. 100%
in your head. Yeah. And so more of what I'm seeing right now is again, in this just like, this goes along with kind of almost the through line of everything that we're saying, is that like the formality is just kind of out. And even when we are doing something like a sport coat, we're doing it in this like looser, more casual way. and you know, it makes me think of how like I very much feel like athleisure was on its way out, and then the pandemic hit, and it kind of got sucked back in, but then like remixed and flipped into this way that it's like it's not just Lulu joggers and technical hoodies, but it's like cozy fleece jackets and like and sweatpants with a barber coat, right? Like
the whole athleisure trend did exactly what I wanted it to do. Like, I don't think I knew that I wanted it to do that, but I didn't want it to go away, but I was getting tired of it. And now that there's a more dressed up version of it, it makes me very happy as someone who doesn't have to wear a suit to work, as someone who does dress more casually and lives in a city that is much more casual than a lot of cities out there. You can pull that off at dinner on a Saturday night in Austin, whereas other cities like Houston or Dallas or wherever, New York, like you don't really have that free pass. But now it feels like you do have that free pass in those places that where you used to not.
Yeah. So that's why that's kind of those top coats with the big lapels and with that kind of formality almost, I think are less in vogue right now. And I would personally stick to shorter jackets and things that are a little bit more casual. And if you do need that kind of that overcoat, then I would be looking for something probably in a darker color or in a plaid or houndstooth or something like that. And that is a little bit more versatile and easier to wear with anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's all we needed. We're pumping the brakes on that. Let's talk boots real quick. Boots are something that I think we even talked about it last year at this time. They've always plagued me. We got a lot of questions about Chelsea boots, and Chelsea boots are something that I have a love-hate with. I think they look clean. I think they're nice looking. I don't have any pants that look good with my Chelsea boots, and so that means that I have worn them outside of my apartment a total of 0 times. Where do we stand on these? Are there any other alternatives to Chelsea boots that people should maybe be taking a look at these days?
Okay. So the big thing in footwear, and this is what we kind of alluded to up top, is that shoes right now in general are just big. Mm-hmm. They're big. The soles are big. They're chunky. They got a lot of lug, a lot of grip. They're mostly being rendered in like kind of burlier leathers or suedes or nubby textures and stuff like that. And man, this really just applies across the board, right? Like we traded in our Nike React Elements for ALD 550s, right?
They're like shelves to house the pants on top of,
exactly,
so they don't drag on the ground.
And that's kind of right. Those two things go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I hopefully don't ruffle feathers here with, but like the Common Projects crepe soled Chelsea boot, that was like so fire from 2015 to 2019 is essentially non-existent right now.
It's crazy
because it went with skinny jeans.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, I don't know. I have a little bit, how can I say this? I have dad legs. Like, my legs are a little bit thicker, and so just having a tapered leg pant into a Chelsea boot, I don't have anything that looks natural for me. And so it's always been really hard for me to pull off. And so I'm almost glad that we're moving to a chunkier thing because I need that just for my own personal purposes. Yeah,
so the kind of the obvious replacement here, and you have it on your list, is a Blundstone. Mm-hmm. It is an all-weather, designed for everything. It's a total shit kicker. You can beat the hell out of it, and it will last forever. But it has the elasticized, the gore, I think is the name of that little of the elastic piece on the side is
I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
And it's a slip-on boot, no laces, but it's way, way burlier than like the suede Saint Laurent and Common Projects Chelsea boots that we kind of that have been on top of mind when we think about Chelsea boots in recent years. Mm-hmm. And this move to like chunkier footwear, I think we probably talked about this a little bit last fall. Last fall it was I was centering like the hiking boot style more, which I'm still seeing a lot of. Solaver just did a collaboration with Noah. That is a total kind of hiking boot. You still have stuff like Danner out there that's really popular. DM hiking boots, and Grenson does a bunch of great ones. So that they still fit in because they are a chunkier sole. They have more weight. They have more heft. They look better under your wider pants,
Yeah.
your less tapered, skinnier pants. And so that's kind of where we are with Chelsea boots. Like the Chelsea itself is fine, but you want something with heft and with a thick sole and that like just is meant to carry weight and is not so slim and low profile.
Yeah. I mean, that all makes sense, and that all pleases me. Where do we stand on cowboy boots for someone who doesn't live in Texas?
Man, so I've never lived outside of Texas, so I it's hard for me to answer this question really well. So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
When you're in Michigan and you see somebody walking around in Western boots, like how does that make you feel? Like what's your reaction to that?
For me, it kind of depends on the person that I would see doing it. If I saw an older guy who had like more of a rugged look, I'd be like, okay, he's killing that.
Yeah.
But that kind of goes the same way with like a Western hat on that kind of person. If I saw someone, I don't know. It would be weird to do in like the snow. You can't really do that.
Right.
And so
They're
like
not meant for snow.
Yeah, and you can't do that in the summer in a place like that because it just wouldn't make sense. And so there's just a limited window that you could actually do it in my eyes.
Yeah. This also depends on kind of how you style your Western boots. Like I will say the Western boot, the cowboy boot, is another version of the Chelsea boot that has kind of overtaken the slim British low profile version. There are a lot of fashionier versions of them out there.
Yeah.
Even for women, Golden Goose does a Western boot. Takova's here based in Austin, like does a side zip with a slim shaft,
yeah.
right? So that you don't have to wear boot cut denim on top of it. Saint Laurent has a boot called a Lucas, which is a very Western pointy toe. I bought a pair with a short shaft last year from Yucatan that I love, and so that's the other piece of it. Like if you're wearing square toe Ariats and cowboy cut Wranglers outside of Texas, like you might get some looks. Like,
yeah, people are going to look at you.
You are putting out quite a vibe.
Yeah.
But like I have a buddy that that's from Texas and has lived in San Francisco for at least the last decade, and like I know he loves putting on his cowboy hat and Western boots because he's basically doing a bit. You know what I mean? He's being Texas guy.
Yes.
And that works for him, and he has fun doing that. So if that's what you're doing, great. But if that's not what you're going for, then I think you're just kind of bringing in a Western boot to a more fashion forward place, and that's also great.
Yeah. Well, so outside of boots, a very fall look that we've talked about before, I think we talked about it last year, are Birkenstocks and socks. Yep. This is something that a lot of people do. It is something that I've wanted to do. My issue is that I don't have the sock game to pull this off at this point, and I also don't own a pair of Birkenstocks at this point. Okay. Actually, I own one pair, and they're rubber, and I'm wearing them right now, and I'm probably not gonna wear them too often.
The EVA ones.
Yeah.
Those
are
huge.
Are we late to the? If I go buy a pair of Birkenstock sandals right now, and I start doing it with some chunky wool socks, are people gonna look at me like, oh, dude, you're late on this?
No.
Okay.
Now, were you John Dude a cutting edge on this? No. But are you too late? Absolutely not. And I would argue, there were some questions. I saw something in here about like women's footwear as well. So I was doing a little research on that last night and just kind of like hopping around to websites that I would shop for women and kind of seeing what was out there. And I did this. I do the same for men regularly. And I would argue that there is no more popular shoe than the Birkenstock right now.
Okay.
It is inspiring everybody else.
Love it.
It has reached a boiling point to where like you cannot get away from it. Whether it's the Arizona with 2 straps or whether it's the Boston with the clog, like those 2 things are everywhere for both men and women. From Birkenstock and then all the way up to Marnie and Rick Owens or whoever else. Like that is a very, very, very hot popular silhouette, and I was surprised because when I was pulling up like new arrivals and shoes for women, I expected to see lots of like boots, and there were some, but fewer than I anticipated. And in their stead was like Birkenstock style sandals and mules, and that is like the mule boys are kicking out there. That's super, super hot right now.
Where do I go to get socks?
Uniqlo, if you want to grab just a whole gang of socks on the cheap, they do that kind of rag, kind of heavy gauge knit. So you can stock up there to get yourself some ones to tide you over and just have a base to go to. And then anonymousism is kind of the kind of the number one for that type of sock that like looks so good.
Okay.
In a Birkenstock, the kind of chunky, heavy, Japanese made, like just they're not all wool. Some are wool, but plenty of blends and cottons out there too. American Trench. Okay. Is another version. I think Stag carries them locally.
Oh, okay. I need to pop in there soon.
Stag also has anonymousism. Those are three great brands to start with, and then I think from there you will just, once your Google algorithm sees that you're searching for those,
they're just going to hammer you.
You'll just start getting targeted more and more.
It's been a weird thing for me because my entire life I've always hated like the bright, funny sock stuff, and now that like you actually have to have a pair of those in order to pull this off, not funny socks or bright, but like just unique socks.
Yeah, they're they don't have pizzas all over them, but they have like cool dyes.
Yes,
they're tie dyed, or they have like a they're the kind of old school sport style with like a stripe around the top or something like that, and then they obviously have the look like, because they're usually that marled look where they're using two kind of tonal yarns. So you'll get like a black and a white or a black and a gray, but it creates that texture and that like almost two-tone look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And our final listener question topic really is hats. This was mainly about Western hats because I think it's a lot easier in my eyes to pull off a Western hat than it is like Western boots. I feel like I feel a little ridiculous whenever I wear my Western hat out, which is not something I do often. I will admit that I did make my entire, or Sally's entire family for my birthday last year. I said, no, I need to get use out of this hat that I bought this fall. We're having an Aspen themed party for me for my birthday in January. Are Western hats in? Are they something that you shouldn't feel guilty about wearing? Are they just situational at this point?
Yeah, it's funny that you say you think that the hat is easier to pull off than the boots, because I think the opposite.
I think that statement is directly towards me and not directly towards the general public.
So I've got a question for you. I think you went to some type of Western bar honky tonk.
Yes.
Over the last month.
Yes.
And I think you got your hat off.
I did. I wore my hat.
What'd you wear for shoes?
Ooh. I think a pair of Sabas.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't go full Western. Because we went out to dinner beforehand, so I didn't want to look ridiculous at dinner by going full Western, and so I just left the hat in the car and then tossed it on. We went into the honky tonk.
Okay.
I really backed into the honky tonk atmosphere.
Okay, so I've got one of these kind of wide brim hats. It's not a cowboy hat, but it has a Western vibe to it, and I can't figure out, for me, how to pull this off without wearing the Western boots.
Yeah.
And so that leads into this whole thing where I'm doing like denim, and then I'm looking for like a shirt that goes with that. And suddenly, like, I like what I have on, but I feel a little bit like I'm in costume.
Yes. That's being in costume is a good way to put it.
And so that is tough. And it just, honestly, what it takes is practice. You just have to keep doing it until you're comfortable with it. But for a guy like me who I like so many different styles, I don't just pick one thing. Like, I don't pick like, oh, I'm going to be this cool Texas Southwest kind of Western.
I'm going full Yellowstone
kind
this
of
fall.
turquoisey, like McConaughey style guy. Like, and then just go with that. Because if you just go with that, then the hat just becomes part of your look and becomes very natural. But I'm like wearing Jordan 1s this weekend and Western boots this weekend. So it's like when I do go in that direction, it feels a little costumey. Having said that, I see people in these wide brim hats all the time wearing like shorts and sneakers, and I'm like, yeah, that looks tight.
Yeah.
For me, this is something like you were saying, like you feel like the hat is easier than the boots. For you, it's just a very personal thing. Like you just kind of have to own whatever you want to do with it and go for it. But the wide brim hats, whether you're going to Aspen Hatter or Montfray or getting yourself a custom Stetson or whatever, like still a very, cool and popular thing, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I was told by my friends, two of my buddies that I'm in a group text with, they told me that I would never wear it more than 5 times in public. I've worn it 4 times now, and I send them a picture every time, and I cannot wait for the 5th time so I can prove them wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
Usually I ask some Sunday-driven questions to finish out the episodes when I have a guest on. Barrett, you've already answered those questions, so we're going to do something a little special after this break.
Okay.
But first, let's hear from our friends over at Vizzy. I will admit that I did something terrible last night. Somebody left a non-Vizzy hard seltzer at my house, and I thought to myself, you know what? I need to get rid of this. I'm going to drink it. What did I do? I hated it. I poured it out. It was not anywhere near as good as Vizzy is, in my opinion. And Vizzy has the option with something a little bit extra. We're talking about acerola and antioxidants, vitamin C. Vizzy brings something unique and delicious to the table. You need to grab yourself a drink that can do both with Vizzy Hard Seltzer. Vizzy is the first hard seltzer crafted with antioxidant vitamin C. It's extracted from acerola cherry, which is a superfruit with 30 times more vitamin C than per cup than an orange. And there are plenty of hard seltzers to choose from, like I said. But you're just wasting your money if you're not going with Vizzy. They've got 8 bold and delicious dual fruit flavors with antioxidant vitamin C, and it makes the choice a lot easier and a lot tastier. There isn't a flavor I dislike at this point. I'm very much all in on the watermelon flavors. They're quite refreshing, and I've been doing them by the poolside. It's been my poolside drink of choice as we are transitioning out of the summer weather.
They got a pumpkin spice flavor coming?
Who knows? They've been putting out so many different flavors that it wouldn't surprise me. It never hurts to add some vitamins and antioxidants to the mix. And with Vizzy, you can enjoy refreshment now with antioxidant vitamin C, 5% ABV, 100 calories, less than 1 gram of real cane sugar. There's no excuses to not get Vizzy at this point. Upgrade your hard seltzer to Vizzy. To find out where you can purchase Vizzy, go to VizzyHardSeltzer.com/washed. That's VizzyHardSeltzer.com/washed. Must be 21 or older. Barrett, we're doing something non-fashion driven.
Okay.
The fashion segment's over. I'm calling this fall indulgences. I have a list of about 6 fall indulgences in front of me, none of which are clothing. Actually, one of them's clothing, somewhat driven, but I'm not going to say it's clothing. I asked you to put together a list, and I think we just need to play a little tennis right now and go back and forth with some of these.
Okay. Do you? I would like you to start if you don't mind.
Okay. This one's hyper niche, but I was shopping for a bottle of red wine the other night for our wine and pizza night. And I saw numerous bottles of wine that had ducks on the label that just put out major fall vibes to me. And okay. I'm just getting more and more excited. Decoy is probably the nicer wine that we buy when we have people over, but we don't want to break the bank. I think the price has gone down from like $25 a bottle down to the high teens. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm trying to get a nice little vibe off at the apartment, I usually go with a bottle of Decoy. But at this point, any bottle of red wine with a duck on it, I'm in.
Okay. I feel that. All right, fall indulgences. Where my mind went was actually travel.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
and
that works.
And I realized that is not fall specific, but I like fall travel the best.
Okay.
And it's not something that we got to do last fall, and things are looking sketchy again this fall. And not saying that you can't travel, you can't go on vacation. Obviously you can. There's just a million more things that go into it now, right?
Yeah.
You got to wear your masks on the plane, and maybe if you go international, then you get dealing with COVID tests. So it's just something that I'm really missing right now, and like I look forward to getting back. What I love so much about fall travel is exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's the chance to experience seasons. Mm-hmm. It is a chance to see those turning leaves. And
Did you do a New York trip last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. And I think we always have these kind of like gumdrop dreams of the fall life that we want to live, where we're like sipping coffee and like taking a walk and doing that. And then your regular life gets in the way of any of that. Mm-hmm. So it's something that you only get to experience with travel.
Yes.
But that's where my mind went with fall indulgences, is like being on a fall trip to somewhere where it is actually getting cooler, and just like walking out of your hotel and going down and grabbing a coffee from like some gorgeous little bakery, and just sitting there and like, maybe grabbing an old school newspaper while you sip on your cup of joe.
You're bringing my mind straight to last year. We went to Aspen the first weekend of October for a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
and we fell ass backwards straight into the most beautiful colors I've seen. And I mean, I lived in Michigan. We have beautiful colors, but in Aspen with the mountains and everything, it was just the perfect timing for us. And even though we thought we were going to be about a week late for it, and we fell right in the perfect time. And when you were talking about taking that walk, one of the fondest memories I have from that trip was Sally was pregnant at the time, and she decided to go lay down for a nap right before we went out to dinner. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to the liquor store. I'm going to pick up a bottle of whiskey, and I'm going to bring it back to our hotel room so I'm not paying an arm and a leg at the hotel bar. And that walk to and from the liquor store in downtown Aspen was the most peaceful thing I had experienced in a very, very long time. I would love to redo that at some point, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. I had a couple other ones. You ready for these?
Yeah. Let's hear another one.
I had chunky wool blankets.
Ooh.
I don't own one currently, but I'm going to buy. I don't think Sally's going to get this far into the episode. I'm going to buy one for her as a Christmas gift. That's for her, but for me.
Will.
Yes.
We actually just made a very lavish purchase. I'm shocked at how expensive this was, but it falls right into this one.
Yeah.
We bought a very expensive weighted blanket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's weighted blanket people out there listening. How does the Sunday Scaries not have a weighted blanket sponsor?
I did.
Did you?
I did. Yeah. Gravity blanket.
Oh, okay.
They sent me one, and I mean, you know that it weighs X amount of pounds, but you don't realize how much it weighs until you get the box, and you're like, holy hell.
Yeah, and we're doing bits, like walking back and forth to bringing it to the bed, bringing it to the couch, like we're doing like a Hunchback of Notre Dame thing because this thing weighs so much. Maybe should I or should I not plug the brand that we went with?
You can absolutely do it.
Okay, it's Barraby.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Bearaby. And we went with the kind of the tensile one instead of the cotton because as aforementioned, like hot sleepers. Mm-hmm. So we wanted it to be kind of breathable and light. But the weight of this thing absolutely falls into like, here's another thing I'll throw out for fall as a fall indulgence. Tell me if you agree with this. The Harry Potter movies have become like borderline fall Christmas movies exclusively. I know they're on TV all year, but all the channels running marathons of the Harry Potter films is something that I look forward to around Thanksgiving.
Yes.
This season, I'm going to have my weighted blanket on top of me, and that's just going to be a scene.
I wish that was on my list right now, the Harry Potter movies, because I have not seen all of them. I only watch them on cold, rainy days. Yeah. That is the only time I will watch one. And if it's a cold, rainy day and we have nothing to do, I say, Sally, it's time. Let's do the next one. Yeah. And it's probably killing her that it's taking me so long to get through them, but I refuse to do it unless it's perfect.
Well, they are finally, I mean, I kind of get a kick out of watching movies on TVs because it's like the commercials give you a chance to look at your phone because we're obsessed.
Fair.
But all of the movies now, they were kind of like in the ether of streaming. They're all on HBO Max now.
Yes.
So you can queue them up very easily and just have, put on your own marathon. And,
we stupidly bought all of them on iTunes when they were running a promotion one day. Okay. And I will say, once they get taken off HBO Max, which might be never, I'll feel better about that purchase. But yeah, we have them purchased and at our disposal at all times.
Okay.
I also had the first fire in the fireplace. That pairs well with some whiskey warming me up on a cool day outside.
Yeah. I will add, you said first fireplace. I'll say first cold football game. We're not always lucky enough to get one here in Austin because of the way the schedule works. And like I said, like sometimes in November it's 78 degrees, sometimes it's 47. So it totally depends. But when we get a home football game here that is cold, there's just like football is meant to be played in the cold.
That's why I will always, I don't care. I mean, I was going to say something about the Big 12, and that will not age well. Yeah. But I will always gravitate towards Big 10 football solely because of the coziness that I feel when they pan to that crowd and everyone's just jacketed up, unable to move like they're in a Christmas story. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, so when we get the opportunity, and you're like freezing your ass off at the tailgate, and it's just like, it's just quite an experience and one that... that when we do get it, I feel very fortunate. Even if in the moment I'm like, God, why is it so cold? But yeah, my cold football game.
My final one was bluegrass playlist. Okay. I only listen to bluegrass when it's fall, and usually I will start in September. But there's been something off this year about my bluegrass game, and I'm waiting to start listening until it actually gets cold outside and not just when September hits. That's all I got for that.
Yeah, that wraps it up for me as well. I think I put out my best ones there.
Well, Barrett, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to bring you back this year for the Christmas gift guide again.
Okay, all right.
These are two of my favorite episodes that I enjoyed doing throughout the year of the Sunday Scaries, and anytime I can get you on the mic with me, I try to take that opportunity.
You think anybody bought that James Purse chess set last year?
I don't know. Enough people.
Somebody would have DM'd us if they did.
Enough people bought the Bodie
the
notebook that I think they raised the price on it. I think you are to blame. I went to the site actually yesterday to go check it out and see how much they cost. They are $30 more for the base model more than what you did.
Yeah.
It was a great suggestion.
I foolishly didn't even buy one for myself. So,
I had numerous people reach out to me and send me photos of their custom notebook.
That is awesome.
I was so jealous.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you liked what you heard today, make sure to subscribe, review, or tell a friend in need about the podcast. By subscribing, you guarantee that each and every episode gets delivered directly to your phone every Sunday morning. You can also follow along on Twitter at Sunday Scaries and Instagram, which is at Sunday.Scaries. Barrett, where can they follow you?
Yeah, follow me at Barrett Dudley on the social media, and then please check out the Club Cool podcast. We are at Club Cool Pod on Instagram. There should be posts on the Instagram by the time this episode airs. We've been in a re-strategizing mode for a while, but I would like to have a vibe for anybody that visits the Instagram page when this ep drops. So it's on my list of to-dos. And then check us out wherever you're listening to the Sunday Scaries. It's the Club Cool podcast, and if you like this episode today, I think you'll dig what Phil and I are bringing to the table.
Absolutely. And what I'll leave everybody with: always trim the wicks on your scented candles and keep an eye out for a fall scented candle. We'll see you guys next Sunday.